Welcome to Letality's Sparkling Life Stories, the place where we share stories behind the people and learn from the best teacher itself, the life. And today I just find out that our guest is from Sweden, but she are now traveling the world, and we will warmly welcome Amira. Hi.
Hi, it's good to be here.
Good to see you. How are you today?
So good. Yeah, I'm excited to chat more with you and to share our stories. I think this will be so cool.
Yeah, I would love to hear your story, and especially now when I just got a few blinks before we started about who you are and your journey, and I can't wait for the listener to hear your story. And I would love if you can start by introducing yourself.
Cool. Yeah. I'm Amira and I have been living this like wild nomadic life now for the last 10 years. I had this powerful brain surgery life hack like 11 years ago where it just changed my whole perspective. And so since then, I've been running a adventure tourism business in Maui and running adventure retreats in Mexico and doing lots of different things to help people feel alive. Seems like that's where my inspiration lies, is in just seeing that part of people come to life. And so, yeah, that's been my passion for the last like 10 years.
Wow, and I can't wait to hear more in depth of that story because brain surgery that's a big thing. And I would love to hear more in how you have established yourself on your feet again and yeah, created your dream life. And before the story, I love to ask,
Mm-hmm.
what do you feel that are your three biggest strengths in this world? And not just a business perspective, but as a human, who are you and what's your biggest strength?
Hmm. Oh, I think probably something that in my journey has been really important is this resilience, both in health, business, life. I'd say mostly in life, that I do believe that there's a part of me that's deeply resilient. And so being able to bring that forward in different environments, wherever I'm being challenged, whether it's intimately, emotionally, physically, like a hard workout or a tough conversation, I have this connection to that part of me, that something that there's nothing that can really knock me down that far. And there's always that, yeah. So I guess that would be one of the strengths.
Yeah.
And I think I have a ton of freedom in my life, and that I try to keep as a core value for how I do most things in life. Like allowing myself to do whatever feels right, no matter what that looks like. I don't have as many shoulds in my mind of I should do this or I should do that. And I think it's given me a lot of freedom to kind of be like a kid in an adult body that's just like, I feel like doing this. I feel like traveling here. I feel like building this. And to watch things come to life. Like even my business, it feels like a kid's like art project that somehow got busy, and it's just like, wow, like I can't believe, like now it's a very like successful adventure business, but it's but from the beginning, it just kind of was shocking that it was like this little, feels like a little drawing that just went wild. And yeah, so I would say freedom, resilience, and I feel really grateful that I've found my way to my feminine energy, to be able to just go into any experience and like um, yeah, letting life be felt through me feels really special. To I've been teaching dance now for the last 8 years and helping women connect to that part of themselves that's often forgotten, which is just being able to feel all of life, like feeling things come through us and feeling them touch us, because that is the feminine, whether it's a sad song or a hard moment or something. It's like the feminine energy is and just really feeling whatever is around us. So I feel like that is a superpower now, to be able to, yeah, allow myself to feel.
Wow. I'm now you became my role model because I want to the kid part and the feminine
Mm.
part. Yeah, just get it through the screen. It would be awesome. But I would love to hear, because I think this, with being a kid in an adult body, I think it's many people who would love to know how to do that, because we are getting so, yeah, we should and must and not free. So, do you know, or have you ever thought of what have made you become that kid and see the world with the kid's eyes?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, for me, it was kind of a forced journey because with my brain surgery, did, it knocked me to the beginning again. So it gave me the opportunity to be a kid again. And I wouldn't say it was felt like an opportunity from the beginning. It was kind of intense. But so after I recovered, it was, I just could not do things yet. Like everything was a mystery. Like, can she walk? Can she talk? Can she show expression? Can she, and I was kind of babysat for 9 months while I went through my like second time being a baby. And then, so for me, life just put me back in a baby reality. And I came back from that surgery with not, I didn't have the social norms yet. I didn't have an inner critic yet. I didn't have anything in my head telling me who I should be or who I shouldn't be, what I should do, I didn't have any of that when I came back. So it just was like I got lucky, I think, because I don't know that it serves everyone to have so many shoulds in here. like like just after, for me, after the surgery, I didn't have the energy to interact with it. So if someone would tell me something I should do, it just made me tired. Like I was like, oh, that doesn't feel good. And if I, even to try to think about what other people needed or wanted, or whatever, like it just was exhausting. And I was like, oh, this is so difficult. Even excitement was difficult. Like other people bringing me energy was like, I'm so excited to see you. And I was like, oh, that feels so exhausting. Like I just didn't have the capacity to be anything except for what I was and what I am, for a while. And so for me, I just, would wake up and be like, what do I feel like doing? What feels good? Like, and I would almost search like it felt like a little treasure map inside of like what would feel good, where would I go that would feel good? And so I put it out on Facebook and I was like, ask me to do anything and I'll do it. And then I just kind of felt through the responses. Someone was like, come to Europe, someone said Africa, someone said Maui, and I thought, Maui, yeah, that sounds interesting. That feels good when I think about it. It just feels like interesting and exciting. And so for me, I went and did that. But I think that for me, it was a forced, like, this is just who I am. Like, I am now a kid in an adult body. And I didn't even have the awareness then that I was much different than anybody else. I just thought, like, I mean, I knew I felt a little freer, but I didn't know what was happening in anyone else's mind until maybe 3 years later. I was in a relationship, and we were sitting at breakfast with a bunch of our friends, and my partner at the time said, like, the way that this guy was looking at me, like he was thinking about me the whole time, and that one was judging me, and this was happening. And afterwards I was mind blown. I was like, what? Like, that happens in your head? That is like so much stuff. And I thought everyone is just eating their pancake. Like, in my mind, I was like, oh, just next bite. Like, I just didn't have that inner critic. And that was my first realization that people have, like, people are being tortured in their own minds by what they should do and how they're perceived. And that was so mind blowing for me. And years later, like, anxiety and things came back to me. And some like that stuff, it caught back up. It just was, my brain wasn't ready for it yet. And so for me, being in that kind of kid in an adult body world was something that just happened. But I guess what I would tell someone that hasn't had that kind of experience, it would be to, like, really feel into their chest, like put themselves in their body and breathe into your chest, and to really feel what gives me any type of a spark to think about. What gives any, and sometimes this is really hard. Like, I've met so many people that don't even know what they feel, and I think that that's became normal. That's a little strange, but if that's the case, then feeling into what does 1% of me desire, because sometimes to think about what do I want, for what will make me happy, what will solve all my problems, or what will like, that amount of pressure can be really overwhelming. But to feel into what does 1% of me want, what could make me feel 1% better, or 2% better, or what is interesting to me, like, I think it's so wild that we have brains filled with interests and desires. And even you starting this podcast is like, what's an interesting thing for me to do, and allowing yourself to really step into the creation of what that can be, rather than what is normal in the world, which is, oh, I'm interested in learning guitar, but yeah, but that's just like a long journey. Or, I'm interested to read about this, or to like pet a sloth one day. But there's always a story that is running in the background saying, it's not that important. Or like, how often do we hear music and we want to dance? Like, some part of us is like, oh, I feel it. But like, then social norms creep in and it's like, oh, that's weird. I should probably just sit here and like tap my foot under the table. But really, when we step into that freedom inside ourselves and we allow ourselves to just rock out to whatever feels good for us and to just stay curious about the world, then we free other people, and I think it's something too with, with what you're doing with the podcast, starting this podcast and just going towards this direction of what's interesting for me. And then in you doing that, I think the most powerful thing you can show the world is the process of doing something, because, we see online cool people doing cool things, but no one's really showing the awkward process of it and just, exposing the difficult things. Like, I launched this store and nothing sold, or I started this course and only one person signed up, or and just this, w- watching. I think that the most powerful thing that we can do is to show our imperfect journey of freeing ourselves to the world, and to like, that's been what inspires me the most. That's how I ended up doing this podcast. Is, my partner's a pro at this and does it all the time, and I thought, I'll be his supportive partner that just, his voice is the soundtrack to my life. And it just is like there's always a podcast. And then, with him and our mutual friend Sonia, talking about how you're, like, empowering me and telling me your stories are important. And at first I was like, you guys are crazy. Like, I will not get on a microphone. I will not talk to people. No. And then, and then I find myself in that speaking course, and then we end up being here. And I wouldn't say I know exactly what I'm doing when I'm, on a podcast, but I think it's fun and I think it's cool to just put ourselves out there and see how it goes and expose the journey, like, just to show people, like, look, I don't know what I'm doing, but this is what makes my soul curious and excited, and in that we give that permission to everyone else. Like, you do something for you that makes you feel excited, or something that you're curious about that people might perceive as weird or different, or you might not succeed right away, but just daring to do a few things that that spark something, because you never really know where you're going to end up. So it's really cool to see people just create what they're interested in, like what you're doing.
Yeah, creating from the heart. And I love what you're saying, and I think it's so much wisdom in these words. And hearing your story, knowing your story, makes it all, it gets another kind of depth in it, because you have actually been outside looking into others that are having those thoughts in their head, and you are coming into the world again. And I think it's so important that we are following the fun and our heart, because the world can tell us to do everything. And I think it's great that you're sharing your story today, and that you're vulnerable, and that you actually did it, even if the first response was, no, I'm not. because I know for a fact that this episode is worth hearing. So I think it will come a lot of lessons out of it. And it's something about that your story is important, my story is important, the neighbor's story is important, because we have all our stories that have made us to us, and we're here alive and tackling the life. And yeah, we can share the lessons and we can learn from each other. And if we're not learning from each other, we can just create a community where we can talk to each other, and it's okay to be who we are. And I think people like you are creating that safe space for everybody else. So thank you so much for being here. And yeah, we're not into the story yet, but we have so much lessons already. So we have heard something about your stories now, but take us through your life and what have made you to you. And yeah, just tell your story. The stage is yours.
Thank you. So for me, I was a very different version of myself. I was like the cool kid in high school, and the life was about self gain and a popularity contest. And I was driven towards like self-serving ego goals. Like I was modeling, and that was my biggest dream, to be seen, to be cool, to be somebody. That was my vision for my whole life. And I had like, yeah, like I had a very, I guess, shallow way of looking at the world. And then I had found out that I had a brain tumor, or like a brain cyst. And then when we found out, they were like, most people that we find this out on have already passed. And we have never really succeeded at being able to remove this type of cyst. It's too big. And so if you bend over, or if you do anything, any kind of movements, like it can pop, and then you would die like pretty instantly. So this is, from here on out, you'll be sleeping sitting up, and you won't be able to bend over. And so my family would take turns just watching me at night. My sister would like sit next to me watching me sleep, to make sure that my head wouldn't move or anything like that. And they were like, and with this, you have about 2 weeks left to live, maybe. That's about as long as this can be stretched. And so we talked about options, and they said we can do this surgery. We've never succeeded before. It would be like less than a 1% chance of you fully recovering. And I heard that and just went home, ate my cereal, and just like could not compute what I had just learned. And I thought, it doesn't make any sense to do a surgery that is experimental and that has less than 1% chance. It's also like in the States, it's financially a big thing to do a big surgery like that. So I thought, I don't really want my family going into debt for 1%. If it was like 50 or like 60%, I could justify it. But I just told my mom, I was like, nah, we're not doing this. This doesn't make sense to do. And she was obviously, I mean, just like any parent would be, like completely torn to pieces. We had never, we had never had that much, but she would put anything into any possibility that it could work. And so she decided, you're my kid. Obviously, I was 21. So she's like, obviously, you have to consent, but I want to do this. And so we did like 2 weeks of going away parties for the friends. It was very interesting because you normally when you say bye to somebody, you think, oh, I'll see them again at some point. Like, it doesn't cross our mind that we might not see them ever again. And so unless it's like someone way, way older and we're like, well, I don't know, if grandma will live forever or anything. But if it's but it normally doesn't cross our mind with young people. And so we would have these little going away parties, and people would come over. They'd come and pray on my head in all kinds of different cultures. And it was a very interesting experience for me to just kind of allow everyone to do whatever they can. Some of my friends got, and my sister got, a tattoo that was my favorite symbol, and they thought that would help. And then I had people, pray on my head, hold my hand, bring flowers, bring whatever they thought might help. Um, and that was my first lesson of love is love, where it's, I think it's so easy when we're healthy and normal to judge, like, oh, my religious view is better than this one, or my way of doing things is better than this one, or my way of healing people is better than this one. Like, it's so easy to judge. But when we're really in that kind of wild, helpless place, like, none of that exists. And that was shattered something for me. It was just, wow, all of it is love. Like, people are just bringing love in different ways. And that was beautiful. And then leading up to the surgery, I went through this kind of loss of self. I remember calling my best friend, Sierra. I just was like, hey, I don't know who to be. Like, I don't know what to do here, because I don't really, like, my whole life had been about personal gain and like stirring up drama, even to just kind of like feel cool, or to feel people's loyalty, or to, it was just, I didn't know how to be someone that didn't do all that stuff, and nothing really mattered anymore. Like, imagine living a life where you get to take nothing with you and you're probably dying in 2 weeks. It's like there's nowhere to put energy that makes sense from that limited way that I had been living. And then and she had said something like, well, in my religion, at the time, she was a part of like Mormon religion, and she was like, well, in my religion, when we can't do things for ourselves, like, we do things for others, and I don't know if that helps. And I just like laid down on my bed, and I felt through that thought of yeah, how can I guess that's the only thing that makes sense from here on out, is to live for others and to do whatever I can to make sure that they are okay, and that gave me a way to operate. That was like, this makes sense. This is like, I have 2 weeks. The best thing I can do is make sure that people are as good as possible when I'm gone, and to just notice all the dependent wires that we have between us as friends, family, and give that power back to people. Like, I think it's normal to get excited when like someone in your life like needs you or whatever. And but in that space, I thought, if they feel like they need me for to feel confident, or if they feel like they need me to feel a sense of belonging, or if they feel like they need if there's something that I've been doing for them that I know I've been doing, I just started to try to detangle those wires of just reminding people, like, you belong, and you always will belong, and you're not, or you're not alone, or you're super loved. And even encouraging people to pair bond with each other more than they would pair bond to me. And it was just such a wild way to, yeah, like, it was just a wild realization to hand people their power back in every way that I had been collecting it. Like, I was like, this is mine. And then I just was living in this world of, I just want them to be as happy, healthy, and if I pass, I want them to be okay. Um, and so, yeah. And then when we were going into the surgery, I felt at peace. I felt like, okay, I've lived a very full life. And I've made peace in all the different areas. I've done all these going away parties. Like, I feel good. And then something hit me, like, as I was being wheeled away and medication was starting to go through me. I just saw their faces, and I just thought, I'm not done yet. And I begged, like, I went into this space of what seemed like almost like a courtroom, but like in a different world. Like, it was all white, and then there were these beings, like, not humans, that were, set around what looked like a courtroom, like kind of half circle. And I was just begging to come back. And I kept going on. And it was initially starting with like self-serving type goals, like, my people, like, I want to help. I don't want my sister to have the story that her sister died. I don't want my family to go through this struggle. I don't want there to be this darkness in the world for the people that I love. And so I just begged. I was like, I just need to go back for them. And the beings at this, courtroom type setting were not responding. And it was just like frozen. Like, it just felt like I wasn't getting through to them. And then I just got more and more desperate. And I thought, like, if there's anything that you guys have left, if there's any unfinished business that you have left on this planet, if there's people that have passed and there's love that you can plug into me, and I can go back and I can bring it with me, like, is there, like, I'll do anything to go back, I just want anyone, like. And so then I started to feel some energy moving over there. And I was like, okay, this is better than the frozen. And so I just kept going. And I was like, just plug in anything you want me to do. Any missions, anything that is unresolved. Like, I will make it my mission to run around and do whatever needs to be done. And then I started to feel things coming towards me, like kind of like codes. Like, it just felt like these little, like, patterned codes that were coming towards me and just going zoop, and they would just get closer and closer and like go into my body somewhere, like just these little codes. And it started kind of slow, and then I just kept opening myself. Like I was like, more, more, more. Like I can do anything. I will do anything. And then it just went super fast. Like it was like zoom, 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 zoom. And then eventually I woke up and I looked around and I was like, okay, I'm back. And so it was, what I got from that was just that these self-serving goals don't really work. You know, they don't really, like, no one, they don't matter in the bigger picture. And so I felt like as long as I allow what I'm supposed to be doing to come through me and I listen, which is a very different person than the one that, you know, before I ever found out about brain surgery. So it was a powerful shift. Obviously, I woke up like borderline vegetable-y. Like it was like, it's not such a charming story. Like I could still speak and I could, but I would be awake for like sometimes even just like a few seconds. And it was like, I came out and I was like, food. And then I would get tired. And then, you know, and then a few days later, they checked if I could walk and they checked if I could eat things. And so I just slowly became a person after that. But I was pretty raw and I didn't really understand. Yeah, I didn't really understand what was real or what was not after that surgery. And so after about a few months, I think I started to have like face expressions, or maybe it was like after a month, there was a girl that came up to me and she's like, Amira, I'm so excited to see you. And I just got exhausted, like looking at her. And she was a friend, but it was just the energy of excitement was just, it's difficult when you're, it's like when you have a fever or something, your head hurts so bad. And someone brings you a lot of energy. You're like, oh no, I can't. And so a friend of mine had pointed out to me, they're like, you don't show any expressions when people like recognize you. Like you might want to show, like you might want to smile, you know, because if they're like, I'm excited to see you. And I'm like, oh, hi. Oh no. Oh, make it stop. Like it was just, it was not, it was definitely not social norms. And then something that, so then I started to learn how to show expressions and how to connect with people. And I started to chase the version of me that I had been, because I didn't have the memories of anything really. I didn't speak Swedish. I didn't remember or understand relationships. Like when people would say like, well, I'm your, you know, I'm related to you and like you're supposed to care about this thing. I just didn't have it, you know, like I just was like, you know, completely in my own little world for the first year. And so yeah, for that year I would feel disappointed when people would run into me and say like, I, you know, like they'd be excited and they'd say, oh, remember this guy? He reminds me of, you know, our college professor. And I was like, what? I went to college? Like, okay. And so, or they were like, remember this inside joke or remember this thing. And I started to realize how much in the mainland world we're hanging out and like constantly reminiscing. And it's just constantly remember this joke or remember that or remember this. And I just felt so sad because I didn't remember those things. And I looked at these faces with their like desperation for me to remember it. And I just was like, man, I wish more than anything that I could just pretend that
Mm.
I know what you're talking about, or just so that you can feel connected to me. Like, it's such a bummer that you need this thing to feel connected to me, but I wish I could give it to you. And but I can't, like, it was overly obvious. I've never been very good at lying. And so I would just, someone would come up and say, do you remember this? Or like, remember this song or this memory? And I was like, like searching, and so after a year of trying to become who I had been, I gave up. I just was like, this is exhausting. I don't think I even, like, I really got in my head and I thought, I don't even think I am the person they think I am. Like, I think I might have just hijacked this body. Like, I'm just a soul that came through and I just took over. Like, I just, I don't even think I am Amira. Like, I don't have any connection to this person. And so I just, yeah, like I had put it out there on Facebook and I was like, ask me to do anything and I'll do it. And it was just, I just want to do anything different. I just knew this wasn't the right thing for me. And I went to Maui, and it was so nice for me that nobody remembered me. No one
Yeah,
knew
and
who
can
I
you tell
was.
about that? Just take the listeners, because you told me before we started, but
Yeah.
can you tell about the thing you posted on Facebook and how you
Oh,
went to
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Maui? Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I posted on Facebook and I said, "Ask me to do anything and I'll do it." And I was open. I was just like, I know I'm supposed to do something different. And so people would say, "Come to Africa in the fall," or "Come to Europe in the summer," or "Let's do this together, let's do that." And someone said Maui, and I thought, could that be tomorrow? And my friend at the time said, sure, yeah, why not? And I had a dog, and so I, had my called my best friend and I was like, can you watch my dog for a week? I just need to go do something different. I can't explain it. I'm just having, like, I just need to go. And he had been an absolute angel in my brain surgery recovery. Like, he was a party friend, right? And then after the surgery had brought me puzzles every single day for 3 months.
Hmm.
And and then he took over watching the dog, and yeah, and I felt such a sense of freedom of doing that, to just go, like, to just allow myself to go the next day, and fly over and feel this whole new world of interacting with people. And from someone that had been so judgy in my life and like living in Seattle, I had the opposite experience coming to Maui, where the most interesting person, like the people that I was staying with, they had someone that was homeless sleeping in their parking spot right outside the house. And they were so annoyed with him. They're like, oh, he smells, he's annoying, he's always talking, like, he's got to go. Like, we need to tell him today he's got to go. And I thought, well, if he's leaving today, then, and I don't know, I thought he was so interesting. So I went and talked to him. And I was like, what are you doing today? And he's like, I'm driving to a buddy's house and I'm driving to that buddy's house. And then I'm just going to, like, eventually find some food and I'll do this and this. And he spoke in riddles. He had like an Australian accent. He was a little older than me and like a beard, but like harmless energy. And he just did things so differently than anything I've ever seen before. And we're driving and he's just, um, well, yeah. So I got in the car and I decided to go along on this adventure. And when we're driving, he's like, yeah, I just put the car in neutral when we go downhill. And like, then I don't have to use gas. And he would just speak really deeply about life. And I had just never seen anything like it. And I thought he was so interesting. And so that he became my best friend. And it's wild because in Seattle, if you see someone that's homeless, normally there's a lack of safety in that. There's like, oh, don't go too close, or don't put yourself in a weird position, or if it's late at night, like just kind of, there's a lot of safety programming around that stuff that I had been believing in. And so to get to Maui and to find this person and to make him my best friend and was wildly freeing as well. Like just to see the human in someone and to be so fascinated by someone doing something different. Like it didn't even matter what he was doing. It was just like, wow, he does things in such a different way than anything I've ever seen before. And but yeah, so then I moved to Maui. I spent a lot of time like just feeling really relieved when I was interacting with people. I realized I could show up in any way I wanted to. Like that is mind blowing from the reality that I was in Washington, where I was trying my hardest to become or be whoever they were talking about. It's like, I don't even know who you're talking about. I'm supposed to be her because and I think that maybe even without brain surgery, people can connect to this experience of feeling like they're supposed to be somebody for their environment. And we build that character, like with all the memories and with all the experiences, we build a character that it felt good to build, but we didn't realize like the wires that, got heavy and that felt not aligned. And it doesn't allow for as much space to be whoever we are. And so when I came to Maui and I could just be any way, I was reckless with it. Like I got some restaurant job and I just was whoever I felt like all the time. I would show like my poor boss at the time, Moki. I definitely, I think I was a lot for him because I would, show up late every day because I didn't care. I didn't think a job was very serious anymore. And I would show up covered in sand, like sand in my hair, sand in all over. And he's like, Amira, the guests are getting sand in their food. They're like, you have to shower before work. And I just was like, no, if they're happy by the time they leave, then how about I just be myself? And he's like, okay, but as soon as someone complains, we're having a conversation. And I was like, okay, perfect. And so I would go in the middle of my shift, like sunset happens in Maui and it's fucking incredible. It's just so beautiful. Like unbelievably beautiful to see all those colors in the sky. And I'd never cared about nature before, but it amazed me that the sky did this beautiful artwork showing every night. So I would walk down to the beach during sunset, even if I was in the middle of my shift, and Moki would come find me and he's like, Amira, your table has been waiting for their food. Like they've been waiting to order this whole time. And I was like, I know, but just look at it. It's so magical. And he's like, this happens every day. I was like, I know. Aren't we so lucky to witness it? Like, wow. And And he's like, Amira, your people need their server. You are a server here, remember? Like, you work here. And I was like, right, right. Okay. And then I said the same thing. I was like, but if they're not upset, you're getting off my back, right? And he's like, yes, but they are going to be upset and we're going to whatever. And so he stands back and I was like, watch this. And so I came up to the people and I was like, I'm so sorry. I am mesmerized by this sunset. It like totally takes me away. And, but I'm so sorry that your, food is late and things are, sorry, I'm not doing whatever. And she's like, oh, you love it here and you love the sunset and it is so beautiful. And then Moki, of course, in the background, he's like, and like just walks away stressed. He's like, I cannot believe this, and but I just had this different way of operating, and I think it became a little bit infectious to be like, just to feel and appreciate life in a different way. It genuinely like would put me in some type of a trance to see the sunsets and to see these things. And so yeah, so I just kept being myself. Like, one thing I did was I think I'd seen a commercial or something that was about pink fuzzy unicorns dancing on rainbows, and I just kept saying this at work. Like, I wasn't interested in making friends. I had my homeless buddy that was, the Australian poet. Like, I was good, so I didn't need to make new friends necessarily. I was always open and curious, but I just thought I'll just be myself. And so it was stuck in my head, and I would just trot around the restaurant going, pink fuzzy unicorns dancing on rainbows all the time. And one guy came up to me and was like, you're so strange. Like, he's like, you do realize, like, some of the people you work with don't really like you. They had thought I was on drugs, um, which later I got to clear up, but I didn't know because I didn't talk to them. So and when I did, it was just kind of like, it was just, I didn't have the need to work, like I needed money, right, to pay rent, obviously, but I didn't feel that need, I just thought. And so for everyone else, they're like, does she have a trust fund? Like, why is she not taking her job seriously? Why are people not firing her? Like, what is going on here? But this one guy was curious about it. And so he's like, this pink fuzzy unicorn dance thing that you do, like, what's going on with that? Like, what do and he's like, well, we're all doing this hike, or we're gathering after work or whatever. And so I was like, okay, yeah, I'll join. And I brought my friend. And I didn't really vibe with the whole group. I could connect with them like a little bit, but I had heard that, yeah, they all thought I was on so many drugs, and they would ask, and then it became a running joke. They're like, what are you on today? And I had an essential oil diffuser hanging around my neck, and that I would sniff all the time because it smelled nice. So whenever they saw it, they're like, oh, she's doing some drugs again. And I was like, and so I just thought it was funny to play into it. And I was like, yes, I am. Here I go again with my drugs. You'll never know what they are. And so I just enjoyed this dance of being a little different. Being judged was funny to me. I was like, I am enjoying this. This is so like interesting. And but I did build a new friendship with that guy that showed an interest in who I was, and we started hiking regularly. We started going to waterfalls like every day. It was another reason to be late. Poor Moki.
Yeah, poor
So I
Moki.
would, yeah. Moki was like, no, not again. But I would decide that I would go cliff jumping waterfalls with my now other friend. His name's Sean. And we would do this every day before work, or most days. And it just became addicting. And I was like, man, I feel so alive. And so when I would come into work and they'd say, you're late again, you're not supposed to be late. And I was like, but I feel alive. Like, how powerful is that? I just went and jumped off a cliff in, these waterfalls. And I feel like I feel activated. I feel like all of existence is just running through me. Like I feel a vibration running through my body. And like I didn't know anything about like, yeah, like it's adrenaline, like,
Mm.
but to me it was so fascinating because I didn't know what was going on. I just felt like the universe was speaking to me in this powerful way. And I just wanted to show it to others. And so I kept doing that, and I felt like it was so magical. Every person that would visit me, because I felt like I had figured out some secret to life, and it was on Maui. And it
Mm.
was just like people needed to experience it, and they needed to feel it, and to come and to cliff jump, um, and I loved watching it. So I started documenting it and taking photos and videos while they were like finding and connecting to what I felt like was their essence, and facilitating these journeys. And it just was a passion. It was something that I had never yeah, like I'd never even cared about nature, and all of a sudden it was talking to me.
Mm.
So it was incredible. And even it wasn't just visitors that were coming to Maui to see me, but I was hitchhiking one day, and there was a family, and they were going to take me somewhere, and hitchhiking on Maui was also like a super interesting thing to do. I was like, who knows where I'll end up? Like, here we go. Let's see who picks me up and when, or if I make it. And even if I don't make it, where I go. Like, how interesting to just put myself out there to the universe and be like, take me on a journey to anywhere, and so I did this often for a little while, um mostly because my friends were also concerned at the way that I would drive my scooter, because it was like I was a bit lawless, like I didn't even have a license, and I just like barely knew what to do on a scooter. And so it was hitchhiking became a bit of a safer method. but but yeah, so I was hitchhiking with this family, and they were going to take me. They're like, oh, you're just a sweet little girl. Like, we'll just take you home. And I was like, because normally hitchhiking, you just put your thumb out and they drop you off wherever is closest to your destination before it's an inconvenience to them. But this family decided, we're going to take you home. And I thought, well, maybe there's this, they're visiting Maui, and I was like, maybe they would like this, little water hole place. It's so cool. And so I just pitched it to them like, are you guys in a rush, or would you want to like go on a little adventure? And they were like, what kind of adventure? I was like, well, it's not so much walking, and we can cliff jump into the water. It's just really cool. And they had an autistic kid with them that was maybe 8 years old in the backseat, and he was so excited. He had barely spoken on that drive, and they seemed kind of frustrated with him before that, but he lit up at the idea of going and doing this thing. And they were like, no, we don't want to be like a bother or anything. And I was like, no, I like, honestly, there's nothing I love more than doing this, and it will be fun for me. And so we went, and I got to see how this kid that had probably experienced a lot of misunderstanding and been perceived as, difficult or different, or, like it seemed like there was a tension in the car. And I have no judgment on that family. I don't know at all what that would be like, to have a kid that has those struggles. And I don't know what that what pressure that causes on a family. But yeah, I got to see how when we went into the jungle, and I was quite the character. I didn't believe in shoes back then. I threw away all my shoes and I had just decided, like, I'm just barefoot from here on out. These things are foot prisons. Like, we're supposed to be free and we're supposed to be connected. And so I just took them through my little spiel of where, like, if you do wear shoes, you're blocking yourself from connecting with the world. And there's things to feel from the ground, like from the grass, the way that it like touches your feet. There's things to feel there that will, like speak to you. And most of the family wore their shoes, but this little kid, the 8-year-old, he decided to go barefoot, and he just came alive. He was the life of the family. He was so excited to like be barefoot and to be jumping into the water, doing these cliff jumps and just smiling, laughing. And the family looked like all of the tension had left their bodies. And it was just beautiful for me to witness and see, especially for kids that are, a bit misunderstood or have certain struggles, that, I mean, I think for any kids, really, it's so powerful to just run around outside and to feel things that are naturally a high, which is nature. And but yeah, so it was super, super cool for me to see that and to capture that. And I went home with my heart full. I was like, wow, I love that I do this. I love that I could create this for this family. And 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 then shortly after that, I met a man in the jungle. He was known as a bit of a legend. He had like a cacao farm, and he had been everywhere from like the CIA to, like traveled the whole world and cooked for every family. And he just was such an interesting human being, and he had so much heart. And I thought, this is a man that the whole community looks up to. And he's so kind. Like, his energy feels so good. And so I asked him, what would be a few things that you wished you would have known when you were my age, Because I'm like 23 at this time, or no, 22. And I was like, what would be some things that you would know or you would want to know? And then he gave me a list of life hacks. One of them being, find a way to make residual income. And that to me was such a crazy thing. He's like, don't do the hours for money trade. Don't do it ever. Only put energy into things that are going to make you money while you're sleeping. And money hadn't been a focus for me at that point. I was doing work trade, and at this point in my journey, and I was just helping bake some things here and there, and it was covering my housing. And so it was a very interesting thing for him to say. And I started to think, well, if I did this thing that I love and helped more people feel alive, how could that be? How could that be? And I didn't really know what I was doing. Like, I hadn't gone to school for business. I didn't have any idea what a website should look like. But I just started building a website. I Googled, I was like, how to build a website. And then I just started to put things out there, and initially offered like tours on Craigslist for like $50 or something, like $50 for 2 people to go on a tour. And then people signed up. And my friend that I had been cliff jumping with, I called him and I was like, "Hey, I've built this website, and I thought I don't really know what I'm doing. Obviously, I'll just like delete it, and this will be nothing. um, but I have customers, so that's awkward." And then he was like, "Wait, you have a website?" I was like, "Yeah, but like it literally looks like a 5-year old made." Like I had rainbow colored fonts. Like it looked absolutely ridiculous. And the pictures were so pixelated that like you can barely see what they were. Like it looks ridiculous. And he's like, "Right, but you have a website." I was like, "I do." And he's like, "And you have customers?" And I was like, "I do, but I'm charging them $50 and they're like, and I don't even know like who, I don't know what I'm doing there." Like on Maui, obviously that doesn't pay for anyone's time to do a tour for $50 for all day. And he's like, "Huh, what if I legalize this thing and I make it official and I do all the business stuff?" And I was like, "Well, like what?" And he's like, "I mean, I've had a business before, so I know how to do this stuff, and we can make an LLC, we can get this insurance, we can do this and this." And I was like, "You're serious?" I was just toying around in the jungle. And he's like, "I mean, you've already built it. Like, let's just do it." And he's like, "I'll lead this tour that's coming up for $50." And I was like, "Great, you keep it." Cause I don't, I don't have any time to do that. And so he started leading the tour and came over afterwards and he's like, "Here's $25." And I was like, "Sean, you you literally did the whole thing yourself. You should definitely keep it like 100%. He's like, "No, now we're business partners. We have a business now." And and then we just kept building it. And it was something that now is super successful and it's so busy. And I think we've had like 6 to 8 tours a day, like throughout the summer. It's been nuts, and that first year we had 5 tours in the year. And so it just became this massive like passion project where it's one dinging that residual income thought that my friend in the jungle had told me about. And also, it was making my soul feel so good that people are just coming here and they are getting that feeling of feeling alive, hanging with friends, and families are getting more connected. I thought that that was the most urgent, pressing thing that I could, you know, really resonate with, because I wanted that with my family. I wanted to cliff jump and feel alive and just feel like we're all connected. I don't remember this thing and I don't know this other thing, and I will not know your inside jokes or the songs or whatever, but I know that when we are here barefoot under this waterfall that we are connected. And so that is how I became an entrepreneur.
Wow. I'm speechless. You have said it all. And the last thing you said about your entrepreneur journey is you just did what everybody else are frightened to do. You just started. You started messy. You started small, but you started, and today it's
Yeah.
successful. And are you enjoying the business today?
I mean, now it's like, I cannot believe I think I have two of the biggest blessings in my life. One was that brain surgery just really giving me, like, let me show you what life is about. It was just this like intense shake of my being, like showing me what's important in the world. And then the business has been the second biggest blessing in my life, because for many years I was just coasting. I was just traveling and dancing and going to whatever self-development workshop or retreats, and I was just letting it be what it was, and I wasn't working much at all. Now I'm more ambitious with it, and I think that that has been in falling in love with the people that I involve in the business. Like, I was pretty removed for a while. Like, I didn't know our guides in person. I didn't have much of a connection to what was actually happening on Maui for a while, because it was just happening. And I got to read the reviews, but I didn't feel connected. And then I went back there and spent more time there and met some of the guides, and they would look me in the eyes and tell me, this is my dream job. This is everything I've
Wow.
ever wanted to do. And that just did something to my heart, where I thought, if this is their dream job and I'm in charge of growing it, right? Like, my business partner is operations, and but I'm the one in charge of growing it, and I'm the visionary, and I have all the power in me to, like, what if I could make him full time? You know, if this is his dream job, imagine he could quit his other jobs. And that inspired me. And seeing friends that struggled, even like I have a friend that lost all her work after the fires. She was an incredible photographer. And after the Maui wildfires, she just could not get the work that she was used to getting. She would get 2 shoots a day, and then she was getting 2 shoots a month. And so she wasn't able to support herself in the same way. And in hearing that, I thought, what if we offer photo shoots? You know, like, what if we add this to the business? You know, like, what if this is something that can, what if I can help? You know, and that's probably the most addicting part of running a business, is looking around at people who are going through things and finding a spot for them in my formula of where it can be mutually beneficial and where we can grow too, because it's not just me doing a favor for someone else. It's us growing. Like, I had a girl that she just wanted to do personal, retreat days, and she had her own ceremonies, and she's like a sister to me. And so I thought, what if she can offer that through our company? And she's had, I wouldn't say so many of those bookings, but she's had like maybe 5 or 6. And it's just been cool to be able to support her in that way. And I've learned, with business, everyone's driven towards different things. Some people are driven towards, they want a cooler car, or they want like a big house, or they want something. Like, financials are normally a driver, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's perfect. I didn't have that.
Mhm.
I thought, I just noticed that I only cared about growing my business when I would focus on how it would help the people around me. And so everyone has a different motivation wire of what they're motivated towards. And I think there's nothing wrong with any of them. I think it's perfect. I mean, it's honestly it's a great thing. If you're financially driven, then you don't have to go around and invent the purpose elsewhere, or you don't have to try to channel it or trick yourself into doing things, because there's just results, when you work hard or work smart, I guess. And but for me, it was all about the people that I'm around. How can I make it more special for them? Like, even for my business partner, he's been an epic friend, an angel of a business partner, and just somebody that I want the entire world for. And it's very interesting. Like, if we were to ever sell the business, or like do anything like that, then I would want him to have the majority. Like we have such an interesting bond where it's like I want to pay him extra bonuses and then he says no. And so it's just like a really like it is the one of the biggest blessings in my life, that partnership. And so it's, yeah, I guess finding out what motivates us. For me, it's the people around me, and but it's different for everyone, and there is no wrong.
Yeah, and I have so much going on in my mind right now after your story and what you're saying, because it's so many things that we could talk in depth about every single detail for hours.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm wondering, how are you today? How do you feel life today? And have you find yourself, and do you feel like yourself today?
Mm. Yeah, I feel like I have found more and more of myself with every year, right? So after brain surgery, I'm this like basically newborn kid like character running around singing about rainbows. And then I started to build this thing. And then I feel like with every year, I've found more access to myself. And it's a goal of mine too, to unlock more portals. The way I see it is like, okay, business portal, okay, open. Like, femininity and dance portal, open. And like, love and relationships portal, open. And now I feel like something that's intimidated me is this. This is a portal. It's like right here. It's just this getting comfortable taking up space and sharing stories. And yeah, now this is the portal that I'm working on. But I feel really good for life. I mean, I have everything that I could want right now, and I just see how I can continue to do like something that gets like 1%, like I'm really into that. I'm not into big goals. I'm not into like, let's be, I didn't go to this thinking, oh, I'll be on a stage in 6 months, or I'll be doing whatever. I'll be like, I don't do the big goal thing, because sometimes we start with 1% and it, that's what resonates, and then it changes, like, but right now, this is my 1% into the direction of speaking my truth and sharing my journey, and hopefully it helps someone, and one person is enough. And even if it helps nobody, it's still incredibly powerful to just for me to open that portal and to yeah, and to do lots of podcasts, because right now that's my thing. Now I'm going to do lots of podcasts.
Yeah, I love it, and I hope that the whole world hears your story, and you affected me today, and I think it's so wonderful to think about how much we can learn. We have talked for 1.5 hours soon, and I feel that I know you on a deeper level than I know some of my best friends, because we are going in depth, we are telling the story, and I've been sitting here thinking about the first part of the conversation today, and your strength, and we're telling about the kid mentality and the freedom, and the story just got a new meaning when we hear why, and we hear the whole story. And I think so much of life is just on the surface, and even if we feel that the first part of the conversation with your strength, it felt depth at that time, but then we got to the deeper level, and it became another lesson on a much deeper level that we will take with us as
Mm.
a listener. So I just love how this episode and your story and your sharing has uh, taught me about how we need to go deeper. We need to ask more questions about people, because then everything changes, and everything sets a new perspective. And you've been through some really hard things, and I just want to say from the bottom of my heart that I'm so grateful that you are here and that you made it and was one of the 1%. It's yeah, I think if I show the video, that it was some tears going down the face, because you really shared something that was your life in a really hard thing, and it went me going to the people I love, and that things can happen, and we
Mhm.
need to, yeah, we need to see life for what it is and follow the joy. I love that, and I'm, yeah, thank you for being you and taking your place, and that you come here to share your story, because I know this will affect people, and it's surely affected me today. So just before we go further, thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. And I think it's something that I think maybe the most powerful lesson in all of it is that, like, we never really know, right? Like, I was a normal person, and then I found out you at max have 2 weeks left to live, you know? And that's changed how I interact with everybody, because now I see when I have a conflict or I have something, a tension or something with someone, like, I just always have to think, because I lived on borrowed time for so long, that I just had
Mm,
to, I have to think, if something were to happen to them or to me before I see them next, would I have peace here? If they were to die tomorrow, if we only had 1 year left, would this matter? If we, and it's been able to, like, really put things into perspective for me on some of those smaller turbulences where, there's a misunderstanding and we cling to it, right? Because it's like, no, I'm right, like, we
mm,
all do it. We're just like, there's just certain things where we think it's so important. And so I guess a huge thing for me has been, would it be important if I never, like, would it really be important? And what I find is most things are a no.
mm,
Like, it's not really worth it to be right, or to prove a point, or to be or to hide, like, even I was talking to someone yesterday about is afraid to share his desire to be closer to somebody else, like, to be closer to his father. He's like, I'm scared to even just say this, out loud. And I just thought, well, if say he died, like, would you have been happy that you didn't say it? Would you be at peace knowing that that was something that was a calling from your heart, and just living that way in all areas of our life, like, would you be happy if you passed and you never got your voice out there and you never recorded these podcasts, like, it's just like, it just shows us the map of who we truly are and who we can be and how we can fully step into that. And but I think that that's a powerful question, not just for people going through brain surgery or with borrowed time or whatever. It's just, is it really worth it? Whatever we're clinging to, is it really, really worth it? And Or is there anything that I can do or drop to prioritize connection, which is what really matters, you know? Like what I learned in that process is people matter, relationships matter. Literally everything else doesn't. Like, it just does
Yeah, but
not,
it's
you
true
know?
story. Yeah.
And it's like we trick ourselves. We think that we need one up, or we need to win, or we need to be heard, or we need this. Or we don't. We don't need to, none of it needs to happen. It just, we need to love each other, and we need to be connected, and we need to just do our best. And I think doing our best, we get rid of some of these blocks that prevent us from connecting with the people we care about most.
I felt this was a great ending, and the lessons was summarized in a really good way. So we can leave it with that and just take that as we move forward with our lives. Everybody, that take care of your relationships, and
Yeah.
is it worth it?
Yeah.
Because things can happen. And as you said the last sentences, I was thinking about that. Most of us are thinking about all the things that's not worth it, and we're arguing with the people who really matter. And it should have been shifted around. But yeah. So, oh yeah, just light a spotlight on that subject, because it's so important to be reminded of this. It can seem so simple, but it's not.
Mm. Yeah.
So, is it something that you want to summarize, a lesson that has not been told?
I think that that is the most powerful, I guess, in my journey. For anyone who hears it, it is a journey of make it up, you know, just do whatever makes you happy. Follow whatever feels aligned. If you can't hear your own voice, or your like intuition, or whatever people want to call it, if you can't hear it, see if it whispers, or go outside and just like see if you hear a whisper of like, what's 1% I can do to help create, you know, more whatever it is you're missing in your life. And then yeah, and you can really just build anything, you know, you can just, there's the crazy thing, like the craziest thing in the world is that people can do anything, literally anything, and they live in worlds where they think that they have to just continue on the path that they're in. Like they have a job they hate, and they think, oh, if only I become the manager and I get a little pay bump, you know? It's just like, that doesn't need to be your end goal. That doesn't need to be your maximum potential, you know? It can look completely different. You can do anything, and you can just put your hours into it, and there is no real limit, you know? It's just about commitment energy. Like it's how much, like if you try something once, you know, or twice or three times, and then you give up, you're like, it didn't work. It's like, whatever, dude, you did not try. Like you did something, but if you see, like you see, I maximum potential me does this, and I'll do whatever it takes to create that, you know, like I will do whatever it takes. I will learn whatever. I will ask people questions about it. I will put all of my commitment into doing this thing. You will do the thing. You will get there. And so I think that that is the most interesting thing that I've learned throughout all this entrepreneur stuff, because I have no idea what I'm doing most of the time. Like I remember when someone was like, oh, we want to pay by credit card instead of cash. It was like my third customer. And I was like, I don't know how to do that. I don't know what to do. I don't even know how to send an invoice. Like I just don't know how to, I don't know, like almost everything I've been asked in business, like my first, even still it happens here and there. They're like, oh, can you send me this spreadsheet that in this way or that way in this format? And I'm like, what? I don't know what I'm doing, you know, but I now know, I know how to do most things about it because I've decided to learn them, but I constantly get questions that I don't know the answer to. And I think that it's just powerful to just commit anyways and to just put yourself out there, just try and just be and do your best. And yeah, that's what I would say to anyone trying to do anything different, because I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of entrepreneurs listening to this. So just whatever you're doing, just try. And don't try with that like half-assed energy, like fully go like completely just go balls to the wall with exactly where you want to go in life. And when you're discouraged and people try to protect you and help you, there's self-doubt everywhere. There's like little bait all around your life that's going to be like, nah, stay small though. It's probably better. And you just have to have like a sword that just goes and like
That was
slashes through
great.
all of the self-doubt and
Yeah,
just commits to whatever your vision is. Like just draw it on a piece of paper, create it, and it can be anything, you know? Literally anything.
I
Yeah.
love that.
That would
I
probably
love
be my
this
main
word.
lesson.
Perfect. And I think people would love to follow you for more and hear your story more and talk to you, and maybe some are interested in your services. Where can people find you?
Yeah, I think probably Instagram would be the easiest. My name on there is Traveler of Love. We do like right now I'm doing adventure retreats in Mexico and soon other places to help people find that part of them that's unbreakable and like warrior stuff. Like challenges and things to activate themselves. So that's been my focus now, and teaching dance and doing little dance retreats and feminine workshops, and yeah, that's what I do. And yeah, thank you so much for having me on here.
Thank you so much for sharing your story and being vulnerable and all the lessons, but because today it's been many, and I know that I will hear this all over again and take notes. So I'm really looking forward to just go out and listen to it once over.
Oh.
Yeah. So thank you so much, and have a great day.
Thank you.